Why even boat-dwelling Sama Bajau still practice agricultural rituals, despite being primarily fishermen. Linguistic evidence further points to Borneo as the ultimate origin of the Proto-Sama Bajau people. A genetic study of three groups, the Darawan of northeast Borneo, the Kotabaru of southeast Borneo, and the Kendari of southeast Sulawesi, suggested that their origin was in southern Sulawesi. Their ethnogenesis is estimated to date back to around the 4th century AD, resulting from an admixture between the Bugis people and a Papuan group. The study authors suggest that the Sama moved to eastern Borneo around the 11th century AD, then toward northern Borneo in the southern Philippines, around the 13th to 14th centuries AD, likely driven by the rising influence and trading activities of the Srivijaya Empire. The Sama Bajau are genetically diverse, indicating significant intermixing with local populations or even cultural adoption by coastal groups in the areas they settled. However, this study focused on the Indonesian Bajo subgroup, and the authors recommend additional research on Sama Bajau groups in neighboring regions. In 2021, a genetic study revealed a unique genetic signal among the Sama Bajau of the Philippines and Indonesia. This genetic marker, called Sama ancestry, identifies them as descendants of an ancient migration of Austroasiatic-affiliated hunter-gatherer groups from mainland Southeast Asia, migrating via the now sunken land bridges of Sundaland around 15,000 to 12,000 years ago. These populations mixed with pre-existing Negrito groups, and later with incoming Austronesian migrants, adopting the Austronesian language. They are genetically clustered with the Lua and Malabri peoples of mainland Southeast Asia, as well as the Manobo people of mainland Mindanao. The study also found minimal South Asian gene flow among Sama populations starting around 1,000 years ago. The Sama ancestry was strongest among the Sama de Laut, followed by more land-based Sama groups. It was also detected among other ethnic groups that do not self-identify as Sama in Palawan, Zamboanga, Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi. With no clear genealogical records, different origin stories, and various research findings, pinpointing the true origin of this unique tribe becomes quite challenging. What is it like being a Bajau? Being a sea gypsy? Life became more complicated for the Bajau during the colonial era when Malaysia, the Philippines, and Indonesia created maritime borders in the Sulu zone. These borders were established in the Madrid Protocol of 1885 without considering the ethnic groups living there. The Dutch, British, and Spanish influences in the region disrupted traditional trade routes and imposed new political boundaries. These changes often forced the Bajau to adapt their migratory routes and settlement patterns. Today, modern Sama Bajau are known for their friendly, welcoming, and happy nature, despite living in simple conditions. Sadly, many are also illiterate, uneducated, and struggling financially due to their nomadic way of life. The number of Sama Bajau who are born and live mostly at sea is decreasing. This change is mainly due to cultural shifts and modernization. The end of the Sultanate of Sulu, which once helped the Sama Bajau trade fish for farming goods, has also played a role. Nowadays, money-based fish markets mean that living on land has become necessary for better market access. In Malaysia, some controversial government programs have moved the Bajau to the mainland. Historically, the Sama Bajau in the Sulu archipelago faced discrimination from the Tausug people, who saw them as inferior and outsiders. The Tausug referred to them with the offensive term Luwan, meaning outcast, based on a legend that portrayed them as ungrateful. The Sama Bajau also faced marginalization from other Moro groups because they practiced animist religions, which were viewed as uncivilized compared to Islam. This low status continued into modern times, with the Sama Bajau still facing prejudice from the Tausug. They have been frequent victims of theft, extortion, kidnapping, and violence from both Tausug insurgents and pirates. Due to discrimination and ongoing violence in Muslim Mindanao, Many Samabajau have moved to Malaysia and Indonesia for better job opportunities. However, their presence is often controversial in Malaysia, where many are considered illegal immigrants. They usually enter Malaysia through offshore islands and work as laborers. Some also migrate to the northern Philippines, such as the Visayas, Palawan, and Mindanao, though these areas are also economically disadvantaged and socially exclusionary. This has led to some Filipinos stereotyping the boat-dwelling Samabajau as beggars and squatters. Traditionally, the Samabajau roamed across the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia, and even ventured into the Timor and Arafura seas. Today, they have lost access to many of these areas. Efforts have been made to grant them fishing rights in traditional zones, but legal issues still persist. For example, the Malaysian Immigration Act of 1959 and 1963 had the most significant impact on Bahau. This law did not distinguish between asylum seekers, refugees, irregular migrants, and undocumented or stateless people. Suddenly, the Bahau found themselves in a difficult legal situation, which worsened during the civil war in the Mindanao region in 1970. Many Bahau families sailed to the east coast of Borneo, where they have struggled with Malaysia's bureaucracy ever since, remaining neither stateless nor citizens. Under a 1974 agreement, Indonesian traditional fishermen can fish in Australia's exclusive economic zone, which includes Samabajau waters. However, illegal fishing by large trawlers has led to concerns about overfishing and damage to Samabajau boats. In 2014, Indonesian authorities destroyed 6 Filipino Samabajau boats caught fishing in Indonesian waters. This is a serious issue since their boats often serve as their homes. Some Samabajau are associated with illegal and harmful fishing practices, like blast fishing, cyanide fishing, and coral mining. They often resort to these methods because modern restrictions have limited their traditional fishing grounds. Facing fewer opportunities, they struggle to compete with better-equipped land-based fishermen. The Indonesian government and NGOs have launched programs to offer alternative livelihoods, such as using fish aggregating devices instead of explosives. Health centers and schools have also been built for Samabajau communities. In the Philippines, some Samabajau refugees have turned to begging, such as diving for coins from ferry passengers or selling grated cassava, handmade mats, and jewelry. Recently, there have been efforts by local governments to help these refugees by providing fishing boats, gear, and other resources. The push for support gained momentum after a photo of a Samabajau beggar, Rita Gaviola, went viral in the Philippines. Sadly, prejudice against the Samabajau continues. Some Tausug Muslims have insulted them, despite both groups sharing the same religion. In Indonesia, the Samabajau face discrimination based on false stereotypes, with accusations of using love potions and being untrustworthy. As of 2023, only about 100 to 200 Bajau still live in traditional Lansa houseboats near the eastern Malaysian city of Semporna. Without citizenship or formal rights to settle on the Borneo mainland, the Bahau of Philippine origin continue to practice maritime hunting techniques passed down through generations. They rely on these skills for survival and trade extra fish, lobsters, and sea cucumbers with islanders in exchange for essential items. However, a lack of funds for repairs and restrictions on cutting trees in the local national park are increasingly pushing the remaining few to consider moving to the mainland, where they continue to face a life as displaced outcasts in the Bangau settlement. A few Samabajau families still follow their traditional way of life. Their houseboats travel together in groups called flotillas, made up of boats from close relatives. They work together when fishing and during special ceremonies. A married couple might choose to sail with the family of either the husband or the wife. At certain times of the year, they anchor at common mooring points called Sambuangan, where they meet other flotillas, often from extended family. These mooring points are usually managed by an elder or leader and are close to important places like freshwater sources.